It's time for Catching Up with Carley, presented by Meijer. I'm Daniella Bruce, filling in for Carly Johnston today, and our guest is co-founder and CEO of Rebel Nell Jewelry, Amy Peterson. Amy, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
It's an honor to be on the show. Thank you for having me.
Of course, we're honored to have you. There's a great few things to talk about today, and I want to start off with talking about Rebel Nell as a whole. You obviously are the co-founder. So what really was it that made you want to start the Rebel Nell collection, and how did that come about?
Yeah, in 2013, I was living right next door to a well-known shelter in Detroit, and I was having conversations with the women who were living there. These were incredible women who left challenging situations behind in search of a better opportunity, not only for themselves, but for their family. And this just really inspired me. And you have to think back to in 2013, Detroit was right in the midst of one of the biggest bankruptcies the country had ever seen. And a lot of resources were no longer there. And so this was just an opportunity to create a company that would help my neighbors. And Rebel Nell was born. Rebel Nell exists to employ, educate, and empower women with barriers to employment. So we hire from local shelters. We hire women who are faced with homelessness, refugees, or have been formerly incarcerated. We now we provide employment, but we also provide wraparound support and economic opportunity to help them overcome barriers that have been prohibitive in the past. And we make unique jewelry out of repurposed material like fallen graffiti or the Tiger's home dugout.
You mentioned the Tigers dugout collection, so let's start talking about that. Some of our viewers may be familiar with the Joe collection, which actually used fragments from Joe Louis Arena to make the jewelry. Now we've got the dugout collection, which does the same with Comerica Park. What has really inspired you to partner with our sports teams to make these collections?
For me, the sports are so important to our city and have helped people overcome so much. We often, when times are tough, turn to our sports heroes to help us distract from regular life. They're just so iconic. There's such roots in the city when you think of, particularly the Tigers. And I have a love for baseball myself. That to be able to partner with organizations like the Red Wings and the Tigers is a dream come true for me. But it's also a way to be able to connect with the fans and give them a piece of history. You referenced the Joe collection, and we did that last September. We have a few pieces left, but not a lot. That was very popular. But it's a very iconic red. And now obviously we know that the Joe Louis Arena no longer exists. And so to be able to have a piece of history that also gives back to the community, I think is just a really neat thing that I'm glad to be a part of.
Giving back to the community is obviously something that is very important to Rebel Nell. The proceeds for the dugout collection, part of them at least, go to the Tigers Foundation. And I know that Rebel Nell has a lot of other programs and empowerment groups that support the community of Detroit. Can you talk a little bit more about those?
Yeah, so Rebel Nell at its core is built around our mission to, again, employ, educate, and empower women with barriers to employment. We provide a lot of wraparound support and really help tackle barriers that have been prohibitive in the past. For example, we do financial literacy, business education, life wellness, housing resources, legal aid. We really do a deep dive to help them get over the hurdles, and then actually they're with us about 2 years, and then we will transition them to the traditional workforce. To date, we've hired 26 women out of shelters and have graduated 20 into the traditional workforce. So we're pretty proud of that number, and we're continuing to grow and expand.
That's absolutely incredible. And I'm glad you mentioned the growth and expansion, because this is a question that I'm actually just really curious about. You said you started Rebel Nell in 2013. How has it grown since then?
Yeah, we keep growing. And I think what's important for people to know is that, like, your purchase really makes an impact. Your dollar really does change the lives of the women that we employ. We average hiring about 6 to 8 women. We do that about 2 times a year, and then we graduate them out. Obviously, the pandemic has put a little bit of a damper on how fast we're able to matriculate some of the women that we're employing, but we're hoping that we can expand to be bringing on 10 to 15 women at a time, which is where I'd like to be by next year. So just keep growing. And like I said, we've hired 26 already, and graduated 20 into the traditional workforce, and they all have great jobs and have been very successful. And it's nice to have those connections with them still. And frankly, one of our first graduates, she now serves on the board of a nonprofit partner that we have, which is great.
That is awesome, because every woman loves jewelry. And I know that you guys have some stuff for the men too, right? You have tie clips and wine stoppers even.
Yep, we have a really broad range of products in various price points. We have items for men and women, as well as just some good gift items. And our price points range everywhere from like $25 all the way to $250. So it's really something for everybody.
Well, as we've talked about, you have some pieces of the Joe collection available, and of course the new Dugout collection that's available from Rebel Nell. Where can people purchase these pieces?
I would encourage everybody to go to rebelnell.com. We're selling direct on our website. You can search for the particular collection, whether it be Joe Louis or the Dugout collection, or just any of our regular pieces that feature unique graffiti from our beloved city. You can also go to our website at rebelnell.com to see a list of retailers that may be carrying the product. We also have a retail store at 1314 Holden Street in the New Center area. It's actually like the Northwest Goldberg community, very close to the Motown Museum. And you can pop in Tuesday through Friday and pick up a piece right when you walk in.
Amazing. You guys, make sure you check out Rebel Nell. Not only are you going to get a great piece of jewelry or whatever item that you decide to pick out, but your proceeds are going to go to a very good cause. Amy, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And a big thank you to Meijer for presenting Catching Up with Carley right here on The Word on Woodward.